Minecraft is no stranger to unsolved mysteries. It's a playful sandbox on the surface that is filled with lore questions that have no concrete answer. One such mystery is the Shulker. It shoots levitating missiles, teleports, and can clone itself. Even amongst Minecraft's weirder mobs, the Shulker simply doesn't fit in. For something this unique, there has to be a story waiting to be told, filled with war, starvation, and at the end, salvation. We're here today to uncover that lost history, and it all starts with the most mysterious ability of the Shulker: levitation. The Shulker has many abilities, but its levitation missiles are truly one of a kind. I mean, flying mobs exist, yes, but they don't levitate, and the player can't turn anything in the game into a potion of it either. This effect itself feels out of place, right? Well, not exactly. In fact, we don't have to look anywhere else but below. That's right. The hundreds of millions of islands scattered across the end all levitate. Haven't you ever wondered why we have to pearl across floating chunks of land? This entire dimension is a Bed Wars map. Now, I initially thought that the end islands float because gravity in the end is lower or just works differently. The dark skies and the endless pit below all resemble characteristics found in space, and without the existence of a gigantic planet pulling everything towards its core, gravity might just be low enough for these islands to float. However, simply jumping around and using a stopwatch is going to prove that otherwise. The laws of gravity work the same way in all dimensions for all entities. No, there is something else here. Somehow this entire realm has found a way to suspend itself. And here is the kicker. I think whoever built the end cities also managed to figure out how to take advantage of this phenomenon. 3 words: end, city, ship. The most iconic and valuable part of these massive structures. They house chests filled with max enchanted armor, tools, weapons, and a juicy pair of wings to top it off. But perhaps their most mind-boggling feature is that they are also suspended in air. No other structure in Minecraft, whether it be underwater, above ground, or this guy's house, just floats mid-air. So what if, by using the exact same methods that end islands seem to employ naturally, the builders of the end cities somehow managed to create floating ships ready to be used for travel? Think about it. This would alleviate the need for throwing ender pearls across islands or spending hours of time building bridges. And unless they decided to delete all those bridges before disappearing for good, I highly doubt they had to travel on foot. Now, at this point, you're probably thinking, even if our observations about the islands and the ship are true, and this past civilization, whoever they are, did manage to exploit levitation, why does this all matter? Well, my friends, take a look at this. Inside of Mojang's only official lore book, the Mob Bestiary, there's a teeny tiny portion dedicated to the Shulker. Now, the narrator here goes over everything: how to fight the Shulker, its anatomy, and most importantly, there's a section that focuses strictly on Shulker bullets. I want you to listen to how the narrator describes them. Fired with a rapid twist of its upper shell, the Shulker's enchanted missile is not a fast-moving projectile. Bingo! Enchanted, huh? Well, as far as we know, there's only one species in Minecraft's history that's capable of enchanting items. You, me, the player, and in this case, since we're talking about a past civilization, Steve's ancestors. There's no other way that Shulker missiles could be enchanted. I believe that after their undeniable success with the end ships, these people took their understanding of levitation one step further and incorporated it into the Shulker. And look, if enchanting an item with the concept of levitation seems too far-fetched to you, we can already enchant swords and bows with literal fire. Just like levitation, Fire is not a potion effect, and yet enchanting technology allows us to turn the idea of setting something on fire into an applicable feature. I actually have a massive theory video planned that focuses specifically on the mysteries of the enchantment table and cursed enchantment books, so if this last part caught your attention, I'd consider subscribing so you don't miss it. Now at this point, we've solved the most intriguing mystery around what the Shulker is, and it signals to the fact that Shulkers are artificial creations. However, we are yet to figure out why our ancestors created them in the first place. Were the Shulkers created to defend entities? If they were created by our ancestors, then why do they attack us? All this talk about enchantments and levitation is meaningless if we can't piece together what purpose this creature serves. And this, my friends, is where things start to get crazy. Now, the most obvious option is that Shulkers were made to serve as guardians for entities. There's really only two mobs that Shulkers would have to defend against: Endermen and Ender Dragons. They don't seem to be inherently hostile towards Endermen, so we're left with Ender Dragons. Now, for people who haven't seen MatPat's theory series on Minecraft, you might be confused as to why I said Ender Dragons instead of Ender Dragon. Well, basically, it's theorized that during the time Steve's ancestors initially came to the end, there used to be more than one Ender Dragon, and that over time they were wiped out. The simplest evidence we can show to support this theory are the dragon heads that are positioned at the front of end ships, as well as the elytras that seem to be made from dragon wings. The fact that dragon parts are displayed as war treasure also suggests that the builders of end cities fought and killed them. Question is, were Shulkers used as a way to defend entities from dragons, maybe even kill a couple in the process? Levitation, like all other effects, can be applied on entities using commands. So to test our dragon repellent theory, I wanted to see whether or not the effect actually works on flying mobs. Imagine that you're a phantom, currently about to attack an innocent player down below. You start diving at exponential speeds when suddenly you start going up, slowly but surely. Emphasis on the slow, because unlike the absurd speeds you were diving at a second ago, you're open to attacks now. It makes sense in theory, but does it actually hold up in truth? Well, as the CEO of SkellyViper, I'm thrilled to announce that the only entities immune to levitation are Shulkers themselves and flying mobs. Phantoms, bats, bees, parrots, you name it, and yeah, unfortunately, dragons. And if dragons are immune to Shulker missiles, there's not much of a point in using them as weapons. But then why on earth were Shulkers created? I refuse to believe that our ancestors just wanted to flex how advanced they were by producing these weird boxes. There has to be something more, and there is. A wise man once said, if you can't figure out what someone's doing or why, look at the outcome and infer the motivation. What if we misjudged the situation? If they were used as weapons, why are the majority of Shulkers inside entities where they cannot defend against oncoming threats rather than being positioned outside? Sure, one possibility is that they were made to serve as weapons, but there might just be something else, and it has to do with the exact same phenomenon that keeps this entire dimension from crumbling into the void. It's so obvious that we simply ignore it. When a Shulker bullet hits an entity, we travel upwards into the sky. I believe that Shulkers are actually elevators. Ever wondered why NCTs are so tall to begin with? The builders could have gone underground or have built villages, and it definitely would have been both easier and a lot less time consuming. But for some reason, they prioritized height over everything else. Well, that is where our old friends, the dragons, come in. As we've established before, there used to be a whole species of dragons flying around in the end when the builders arrived here. Problem is, most Minecraft players already have a tough time dealing with one dragon. So how do you think Steve's ancestors handled possible attacks from tens or maybe even hundreds of dragons at once? Well, first they needed to see further out. Preparation is key, and having skyscrapers to look out from would give them an early warning if any dragons were in the area. Second, they needed to be able to shoot and actually damage the dragons, but landing enough shots from 50 or 100 blocks under them would be impossible. So they made stairs leading to the rooftops of their cities, where they could easily shoot at their enemies. But there's one massive problem with this: they had to keep moving. All Minecraft players know that standing still in the Ender Dragon fight is an automatic death wish. Its magic fireballs and direct ramming attacks basically instantly kill anybody not paying attention. But the rooftops of end cities don't have a lot of room to move around in. Our ancestors, now clustered together, were guaranteed to either fall to their deaths, get flung off, or die to magic while fighting the dragons. They needed free space, as much space to move around them as they could get. The entire sky, for instance, would definitely do the trick. All they would have to do is float. Remember the start of the video? They already succeeded in creating floating ships, so they got to work. Using every resource they could find, from chorus to endstone to enchantment, they created the Shulker, their savior. By having Shulker bullets lock onto players, they now had a constant, guaranteed source of levitation. The builders not only got an essentially unlimited amount of free space to move around in, but also gained a height advantage over the dragons. If the levitation effect ever got close to running out, they'd just eat a chorus fruit or grow an ender pearl and teleport back down to safety. I know it's not what you expected. Shulkers are just incredibly advanced elevators. Case closed, right? Yeah, of course not. Look, if they took care of their biggest problem, which is the dragons, then where did our ancestors go? Were they killed? Or did they manage to escape from the end somehow? But that, my friends, is a theory for another day. And if you don't want to miss it, you know what to do. Subscribe.